called him in to examine these manuscripts and document his findings. And I'm going to play you a video clip that talks about this. But Dr. Quinn found no less than 1,000 different versions of the Quran that had been stashed in that mosque. 1,000 versions, different versions that differ from one another in verse arrangement, in arrangement of the surahs. Some had verses that others did not have. And I'm going to play the video for you, and I'm going to come back with some closing remarks about Dr. Quinn's comments, and then I'll jump into Islamic apologists in the time we have left. Pay attention to this video. This is fascinating stuff.
Muslims believe the Quran to be the word of God as dictated to the Prophet Muhammad, while most Christians and Jews understand their holy texts to be authored by men inspired by God. This distinction means that critical analysis of the sacred texts, which has so enlightened Christian and Jewish thinking since the 16th century, becomes an extremely sensitive issue when it's applied to the Quran. And it doesn't help when those scholars who are making the attempt are largely Western non-Muslims. Can their studies really shed new light on the text and its origins? In 1972, during the restoration of the great mosque of Sana'a, capital of North Yemen, workers discovered a mash of old parchments in a loft between the inner and outer roofs. The entire load was stuffed into some 20 potato sacks, where it might have remained were it not for the arrival 7 years later of Dr. Gerd Puyn, a German scholar and Quranic expert. Puyn immediately grasped the significance of the find. Working with a team of local assistants, he carefully prized the layers apart and fired off thousands of photographs. 4 fragments immediately caught Puyn's attention. They contained the first and last chapters of the Quran, and unlike any other Qurans in existence, they were illustrated with architectural drawings of mosques. A vital clue to their origin.
Man kann eben diesen Koran, because of its drawings, because of the art historical context, you can date this Quran very precisely to the time of Al-Walid.
Sehr genau datieren auf die Zeit von Al-Walid.
This is the reign between 705 and 715.
5 und 715.
The oldest datable Quran in the world, created some 70 years after the death of the Prophet. From the potato sacks, Puyn identified fragments from nearly 1,000 different Qurans. Comparisons between them and the standard Cairo text in use today are startling. These early texts are written in a kind of shorthand with no vowel markings or distinguishing dots, which means that individual words can have up to 30 different meanings.
Es ist tatsächlich so, dass man durch die schiere Existenz
the sheer existence of so many different possible readings would suggest that this text wasn't passed down word for word.
Der Text eben nicht wortwörtlich überliefert.
The text isn't as stable as it seems in the Cairo version.
In der Fassung von Kairo erscheint.
There was another important discovery amongst the Sana fragments. The application of simple forensic techniques revealed earlier texts that had been washed off and overwritten. Although the hidden text revealed no contradictory meanings, words had been changed, verses and whole chapters rearranged.
If his researches are correct, particularly on dating, it suggests, in fact, that the Quran was not a single product, a single entity that was fixed by 650, but actually developed much, much later, hence the overlaying of texts of written materials.
1,000 different versions of the Quran, some of which had been erased and written over again. But what was erased? Was it significant? Perhaps. We'll never know. But 1,000 different versions of the Quran that he found as early as 70 years after Muhammad's death. 705 to 715. So where do Muslim apologists today come up saying that the Quran that was given to Muhammad is the same one that we have today? They can't make that claim. They can't make that claim. Now, as a follow-up to what you heard Dr. Quinn say, let me just read some quotations regarding this whole episode. And by the way, Dr. Quinn speaks very good English. I think they just had him speaking English or German on here for the dramatic effect. German is a much more scholarly language. So. Over concerns that Western scholars might find something detrimental to traditional Islamic dogma concerning the Quran, the following request appeared in the letters to the editor of the English language version of the Yemeni Times regarding this issue. And the writer to the Yemeni Times said, "Please ensure that these scholars are not given further access to these documents. Also, please rebury them if they are not exact reproductions, please burn them. Allah help us against our enemies." Ooh. You see, they were very well aware of the fact that this was casting negative light on the inevitability, the unchanging Quran. There's no way they can make that argument. And as far as I know, the Yemeni Antiquities authorities have taken those documents. They're locked up in safekeeping right now, and nobody's ever allowed to look at them again. And I believe that Dr. Quinn is probably going to publish his findings at some point. I'm sure he's probably publishing them right now in book form. But he's getting up in his years, and I have a feeling that he has, this is just my presupposition, I have no knowledge of this, intimate knowledge, but I have a feeling he's documenting his findings, and his book will be released shortly upon his death. Because when he releases his finding, it's going to rock the Muslim world. It will. It will. It's going to rock the Muslim world. Why would Muslims want to prevent a critical analysis of some of the oldest datable Qurans discovered to date? If they believe that the Quran they have today is the same one that was given to Muhammad, what do they have to hide? Why do they want to keep scholars from studying these oldest datable manuscripts? I think that's a fair question. Here's why. Ibn Warraq, I don't know if you're familiar with him. Ibn Warraq, W-A-R-R-A-Q. He's written several books about Islam. He's a former Muslim, now an atheist. In his book, Which Quran? He writes this. He says, in just 83 sheets of the Sana manuscript, in just 83 of the sheets out of 16,000 sheets of these manuscripts that were discovered in Sana, Yemen. He says, just take 83 of these sheets. And when compared to the 1924 Cairo text, Twin discovered at least 5,000 deviations in the root words of verses never before recorded anywhere. Wow. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. That's why they don't want these manuscripts examined. Because it would rock their world. Well, the Quran today is not the one that was given to Muhammad. Now what do we do? You basically eroded the foundation of Islam. That would be a good thing, in my view. All right. I'm going to switch gears now in the few minutes we have. I went way over time talking about the Quran. Oh, I love this stuff. It's fascinating history.